You've probably heard of Counter-Strike before, especially if you're from one of these countries, had an older brother that smoked cigarettes in the early 2000s, hung around at LAN cafes around that same time, or have a friend's boyfriend that drinks White Monster and sometimes loudly slams his desk while you're trying to catch up on Handmaid's Tale in the other room. Counter-Strike is a mod for Half-Life released in 1999, which then went on to be updated several times over the next few years until eventually reaching the definitive version 1.6, or as it's officially just called, Counter-Strike. Since then, there's been several iterations/sequels, including but not limited to Condition Zero, Source, Nexon, CSGO, and most recently, CS2. Regardless of which version of the game you play though, it kinda follows the same basic formula. The terrorists, those are the bad guys, wanna plant a bomb, and the counter-terrorists, the good guys, want to defuse said bomb. Either team wins by completing their objective, or they can just kill each other. And yes, there is also hostage mode and VIP mode, but no one cares. Now, Counter-Strike maps generally follow what's known as a 3-lane structure, meaning that when viewed from above, like this, the map can be pretty easily divided into 3 separate lanes, one team spawning on one side and the other team spawning on the other side. There are 2 bomb sites and a couple of different paths between the 3 lanes, but honestly, for the purposes of this video, you don't really need to know anything about the gameplay of Counter-Strike, or even, care about Counter-Strike at all, because this video isn't really about Counter-Strike as such. It does take place in Counter-Strike, but it also takes place in mansions, shopping malls, courtyards, tennis halls, whatever this is, and Sweden. This is Sweden. This is also a map inside of the game Counter-Strike 2, but I promise you, this is Sweden. From the way that the dusty asphalt transitions into yellow grass which borders on the last remnants of polluted snow, to the specific trees and foliage. The broad strokes are here. How the light falls, the shapes of the shadows, but so are the final details. They're all real. This mailbox, this sign, these signs, this thing, that thing, kolonilott, roadwork, trash cans, pizza boxes, it's all here. But the arguably most impressive and mind-boggling aspect of this virtual Sweden is, of course, the painfully ordinary trip that one can take to Coop. And walking through here is one of, if not the most surreal experience I have ever had in a video game. And no matter what I do, I don't think I'll be able to fully translate that experience to most of you, because if you're not from Sweden, this is probably mostly just, like a generic, perhaps vaguely European convenience store, but it isn't. This is Coop. That's my ketchup, my knäckebröd, my honey, my flour, milk, pommac. This is literally where I buy onions. This is literally where I buy onions. That is my taco shelf. And inside of this fucking thing, there's Calippo, Piggelin, 88, Twister. It's all here. This map is called Insertion 2, and it's a community-made map by a user named Oskmus, or Oskmus, probably. And it took him 4 years to create this map, this vertical slice of Sweden, and every single asset is purpose-made for this map, with original photographed textures and custom handcrafted models. And while some 10 years ago or so, the art of Simon Stålenhag sort of wowed me with its depiction of Sweden, I'm really sorry to Simon, but that truly pales in comparison to how it felt to walk around this map for the first time. Because, as I said earlier, this isn't like Sweden, this is Sweden. But it is also Counter-Strike. It's Sweden painted on top of Counter-Strike, or wrapped up within it, projected through it, maybe seen by it. And while it is by far the best example I've seen of this phenomena, Insertion 2 isn't the first time that specifically Sweden has been specifically depicted in Counter-Strike. But before I tell you of this, let's talk about my shirt. This fucking shirt was sent to me by this video's sponsor, Cool Shirts. Oh, and you thought this shirt is the only shirt they have? You fucking idiot. They have 3 shirts over at coolshirts.com. They got tees, a sweater, pants, hat, jewelry, and yeah, they got keycaps.
This one's for the gamers.
The fuck is this? It's probably because my shirt is so cool. This is thanks to Cool Shirts. And one of the best parts about Cool Shirts... Are you listening? They got both fun shirts, but also some of them are kind of fucked up and twisted. So regardless if you're in a kind of a fun type of mood or thinking of some real fricked up stuff, Cool Shirt has the perfect cool shirt for you. And throughout the rest of this video, I'll actually be wearing exclusively cool shirts from Cool. So if you keep watching, you'll catch me wearing the unimaginable suffering sweater, the fake reality inside my head sweater, and the one that says kill him with kindness. I don't agree with the message, I don't think you should kill anyone, but the shirt is comfortable. It's a nice shirt, and they sponsored me about it. I'm happy to finally have a shirt with Bonzi Buddy and Clippy on it. Been trying to get a hold of one of those for years. Use the link down in the description or scan this QR code and use my special code. And you'll get not 50, not 40, not 30, but 10% off of your entire purchase. That's
Shirts.cool.
Link in the description, QR code on the screen, coupon code to get 10% off your entire purchase. Thank you again to Cool Shirts for sponsoring this video and you know, dressing me up a bit nicer. Let's continue with the video. And I don't fucking know if any of this is gonna be usable. I feel like this entire thing is a mess. Hopefully, they'll be okay with it. In the early 2000s, modding culture was booming. Making maps or mods for games like Doom, Quake, Half-Life, and then by extension Counter-Strike was a decently popular pastime for nerds everywhere. And while the previously mentioned Insertion 2 may have this beat in terms of visual fidelity, attention to detail, accuracy, and pretty much every other technical aspect, what it lacks is the, I don't know, like the unfiltered whims of some 16-year-old with a moped, a CRT monitor, and 2 months of sleepless nights during their summer break. Something like that. And I just love the aesthetics and the vibe of these old maps. I love the virtual museum aspect of walking around in someone's creation from almost 30 years ago, taking the time to kind of stop and appreciate the little details and the quirks of these old maps. For example, the map that I'm standing in right now. This is 𝐵𝚁𝚗𝚗. And I promise this whole video won't be Sweden focused, it's just a decent segue for this specific part. Okay. Mjölby is a small city in central Sweden that you've probably never been to, and honestly, neither have I. They do talk kind of funny there, which isn't really important to know, but I just wanted to mention it. You can just imagine the people walking around these streets would be saying Mjölby, gardiner, stora vattenmeloner. But my point is that even though I've never been to Mjölby, I have been to 𝐵𝚗𝚗𝚗. And in the same way as Insertion 2, this is all strangely familiar, despite the technical limitations in this case. I sort of think of this map as the Insertion 2 of the early 2000s, like Mjölby lagged so that Insertion 2 could V-sync smoothly. Such fucking shitty gamer references. And there's just so much to love here. Josef's Pizzeria, the casino machines inside, the obligatory PC back here with Counter-Strike running on the monitor. And again, look, I know this isn't gonna be winning any prizes for photorealistic accuracy, but I did reach out to Robert 𝐄𝐌𝐀𝐈𝐋, I hope that's how your last name is pronounced, who made this map back in February of 2001, and he kindly provided me with all of the reference photos that he took when he made this map almost 25 years ago. And like, how cool is this? I'm just hoping I'm doing some side-by-sides here. Yeah, I love this. And with 𝐄𝐌𝐻's permission, I will be publishing all of these images on my website if you want to check them out for yourself. There should be a link somewhere on the screen right now. Regardless if your game of choice is Doom, Super Mario 64, Fancy Pants Adventure, or that game that you made up in your head during long drives as a kid where a guy was kind of running outside of the car window and jumping from obstacle to obstacle, you've likely at some point looked at some familiar space and imagined it as a video game level. Maybe the local pizza place presses up against the laundromat next door in a way that just tickles your mind, or maybe your local mall's parking garage has the perfect layout for a tactical shooter scenario. And I'm willing to bet that D.E. Mjölby came about in this exact way. Kung 𝐄𝐌𝐻 walking home from school or the store one day, thinking to himself that if this was a video game, you would be able to go into that window over there. Because I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that as a species, we want to navigate the real world in the same way that one can navigate D.E. Mjölby. Shoot open some ventilation shaft by the convenience store and end up at a vantage point above the post office. Duck through a window behind some HVAC ducts and eventually come out wherever this big empty space is halfway across town. And that's a strange, but again, I think somewhat universal longing, right? This idea of everyday buildings as mere facades, distracting the public from some interconnected labyrinthian tangle of back rooms and access tunnels. It scratches the same part of my brain that is responsible for the lifelong appreciation of the classic spinning bookshelf revealing some secret hidden path. It's kind of like those childhood play structures that you'd sometimes find yourself at, those rare pools that only happened occasionally where you would suddenly be at a place where you could explore this network of intricate tubes and tunnels and slides, and I want to discover that my city is really a maze of secrets and unexpected connections just waiting for me to learn them. I want to be like a little guy. I want to be a rodent making my way through not a maze, but a series of whimsical Rube Goldberg-adjacent mousetrap-like constructions. I want to be a rat.
Rats are all like this. The rat goes like this. So the rat's like this. The normal rat's like this. That's the normal rat. You are now a normal rat. You're ready, man.
Rats is a series of maps by mapper Chris Spain. And for the purpose of this video, I'll be pulling footage from several of these maps and sort of talking about them as if they were all one and the same map, just for simplicity's sake. Now, throughout the years, many games and stories have mined this concept of being a little guy in a not-so-little world. Gulliver's Travels, Minish Cap, Nils Karlsson Pyssling, 𝐄𝐌𝐻𝐿, and, fittingly, Ratatouille. Because, as you've probably gathered at this point, this map puts the player in the shoes of, well, a rat. I mean, not literally, rats don't have shoes. Ordinary, mundane rooms have been turned into huge playgrounds with everyday objects and furniture towering over you. Cabinets turn into multi-floor bases, trim becomes bridge. Imagine any of the junk you take out of your pocket and put on the counter or thrust in the back of some unlabeled drawer, and it's probably there in Rats. A recurring game dev trope that you've probably heard before is the saying that if you can see it, you can get to it, and even though that might not be 100% true, Rats always really gave me that feeling when I played it as a kid. If I could see something, I could probably get there and probably do something with it. The fridge, the pantry, under the bed, the top of the door. I used to hop onto servers and try to avoid getting killed just so I could walk around these maps. And if my dumbass kid self had known that I could have just started the map up locally with only myself on the server, I could have done just that, but without having to stress about avoiding literal gunfire. But at least now, some 25 years later, I do know how to do that. And I really love how much this map leans into the possibilities of interactive elements. It's nothing groundbreaking, but when the majority of maps are just static walls and objects, it does really feel quite novel to push around this sponge, turn off the lights by shooting this light switch, play and pause this cassette player with a tape of Gordon Freeman's Golden Great in it, or tell your buddy to stand on the lever for the toaster when it's done. And that's far from the only environmental hazard here. There's the oven burners that'll kill ya, the garbage disposal that'll kill ya, the mousetrap that'll kill ya, the cactus that'll kill ya, the cup of hot tea that you can swim in before it kills ya, thumbtacks, flood room, freezer, pesticide. But the show stealer, for me, the thing that always gets me going in maps like this, is all of the environmental details and texture work. 𝐴XR's extra gassy baked beans, the X-Files poster in the bedroom, this kid right here, which I guess might be Chris Spain himself. I love this little space under the bed where you can find a magazine with Xena Warrior Princess, and this little space inside of the walls with cobwebs and just the most vibey ambient soundscape. And this is exactly it, man. It's the little things like this, adding specific ambient sounds to specific areas that just really makes me appreciate the creativity on display in maps like this. This is AS Alpine, not to be confused with CS Alpine, which is another map altogether. It's seemingly some sort of hotel getaway space, a mountain resort for tech billionaires to do drugs, maybe some unofficial gathering location for some sort of secret society. It's got these sort of lavish bedrooms, a courtyard, and even an attic floor. Outside, right next to the main courtyard, there's this hot spring. Or, I mean, it's a body of water. It is frozen over, so I'm guessing it's not as much a hot spring as it is a cold spring, if that's even a word. It leads indoors, anyway, into this little area with a bookshelf.
So I'm gonna have to interrupt myself real quick here. This is obviously not a bookshelf. It's a bar. And the next sentence, which I'm gonna cut out, is me saying that this is sort of a liminal space that you're more so meant to pass through, but not really hang out in, which also doesn't make any sense. There's literally tables and a place to hang your towels. So this is where you go after you bathe in the little cold spring. I don't know what I was thinking. This is a pretty cool little room. And I'm an idiot.
There's also this very vibey little lobby here. I love the lights in the ceiling, and the lobby leads straight out onto the balcony. And who doesn't love a great view? There's also this conference room with a long table and a little stage. And I was a little worried about that hammer symbol up there, because I knew I recognized it from somewhere when I was exploring the map, but I couldn't quite place exactly from where, and It took me a significant amount of research for some reason to finally figure out that I don't have to retexture it with something else or add some kind of a disclaimer that I don't support so-and-so hate group, because the logo in question is from the 12th episode of Season 6 of The Simpsons, Homer the Great. It's the official emblem for the Stonecutters' secret society. I do plan my scripts out. But that's such a fun touch, right? I feel like it tells me something about the person who originally made this map, which, I mean, it does. They like The Simpsons, I guess, but it does feel more personal than that somehow. Upstairs we have a self-playing piano banging out some classical tunes, which I've probably replaced here for, legal reasons, but I love the little animation on the keys here. It actually took me a few seconds to notice that it's just a very simple loop, and at first I thought it was actually syncing to the song. And if we continue past the piano and back downstairs, we enter this kitchen, which is nice and quaint. It's got all the expected amenities and all that, but by far my favorite part of this whole map comes in the room just outside this kitchen. And listen, I'm a simple man, okay? I don't know if it's just the aesthetics of having photo-textured flat planes of flowers line the walls, if it's the colorfulness of the flowers against the simple wood shelves, or if it's the sprawling mountain landscape outside of the window, but I love this space. I can, no joke, kind of smell these flowers as I stand here, and it just does something for me. In one sense, the unreality of these flowers represents one of the many ways that we agree to suspend our disbelief in video games, disregarding real-life elements that'd be inefficient or even impossible to recreate virtually. Like, for all its sprawling landscapes, it is a bit weird that the major cities in Skyrim have like 30 people living in them. Or how about the fact that, yes, I am in fact donning a bellhop uniform and holding a package of roses, which on paper should allow me to blend perfectly into this hotel, but I'm also a 180 centimeters tall, mute, bald man with a barcode on my neck, yet no one bats an eye. But I think that we're willing to ignore the rational nitpicker in our minds and understand those 30 people as a kind of abstract gesture towards a bustling city, or a costume change as a stand-in for a well-planned infiltration for the sake of having a functional game. The other side of that, though, is adding additional interactivity to immerse you more. In Duke Nukem 3D, you can use the toilets, enemies can use the toilet, you can flush them, break them, drink out of them, examining everyday objects in Shenmue, getting your money back from sex workers in GTA 3, petting the giraffe in The Last of Us. None of these really needed to be there, but they sort of make up for all of the other stuff that we agreed to let slip. It's a sort of exchange where we look the other way when it comes to certain aspects, and in return we are rewarded with these small moments of connection, like these windows. Because while they're not necessarily interactable in the traditional sense, if you walk up to them it won't let you click F to pay respect, but windows in general in games have always been a sort of quiet delight for me. Finding myself in a room with a glass window that I can look out through and see the scenery shifting along with the motion of the in-game camera, and recognizing that scenery from just having been outside myself allows my brain to more comfortably accept that this is a real space and that I am in it. But also, this little sunroom just does something for me because it's so damn out of place. Video game locations have the luxury of being purpose-built. The creator usually knows exactly what they want the player to be able to do, meaning that they can craft the perfectly efficient setting that provides exactly as much scope as it needs. You know how in games you'll come across some absolutely inexplicable item or location and think, well, they wouldn't have put this here if they didn't want me to do something with it, so I'm sure I'll learn what it's for soon enough. That is arguably one of the most artificial silent agreements we have with a game, but isn't it also a very comforting state of being? I long for the day when I can walk through my own life with that same confidence. I don't know why these baffling events just happened to me, but I have utter faith that it will be explained in due time and contribute to the economical storytelling of my life. And the AS Alpine sunroom, through this lens, becomes a gently subversive little space. It is, after all, in a bang-bang shoot-em-up game, yet it does absolutely nothing to aid you in your pursuit of banging or shooting 'em up. If anything, as a quiet space seemingly meant for reflection with no tactical advantages, it's more likely to get you killed rather than assist you in any way if you were to visit here during actual gameplay. And dude, I don't know, humans just also fucking love nooks, huh? Little nooks and crannies. A hatch in a floor, a space above a staircase, a sunroom in an alpine resort. Don't ask me why, but for some reason this is the Counter-Strike map that I've spent by far the most amount of time on, barring maybe Dust 2. For years I would come home after school, turn on my PC, log into Steam, launch Counter-Strike and join a 24/7 server of ᴄＧŞ. The map was created in the year of 2000 and something by the mapper. Who knows? Not even a rhetorical question. Does anyone know who made this map? Honestly, it's crazy, but also not completely unexpected that some of these mappers' names have been lost to time over the years. But yeah, if anyone wants to dive into this, I would be very curious to see if you could find out who made this map. I was tempted to do it myself, or to try to do it, but I'm holding back. This isn't that type of video. I don't want to add another 2 months of production time and break out the fucking PNG avatar guy. Hello, me again. So actually I might have found who made this map after all. The map comes with this .res file that sort of lists the resources needed to play the map. And in there it says that this res file was created with a software called ResGen. And then it says by ⴄKING. And I don't know if the by actually is just in reference to the ResGen software, or if ⴄKING made this map. I wasn't supposed to, but I dug in a little bit into the website that he plugs, and it's like an old German forum. I didn't spend that much time on it. Currently I'm leaning that ⴄKING just created the ResGen software, but yeah, if anyone knows, holla at your boy. AIM maps, also known as any map with the prefix AIM, generally had a sort of team deathmatch vibe going. You don't have to buy any weapons or manage economy. Guns are just kinda laying around on the ground and you pick them up, you shoot some guy and then you get shot yourself and the round is over. Repeat. And the Crazy Jump specifically takes place on 2 platforms, one for each team. Between them there's a bridge on which you can find the only sniper on the map. There's a raw, almost beautiful simplicity to the minimalist brutalism that is AIM Crazy Jump. We don't have to pretend here. You get guns, I get guns, we shoot. We balance on the outer edge of these boxes, someone falls off, someone else breaks the bridge. One of us, all of us, eventually die. The sniper stays floating in the air. Each platform here is essentially identical to the other, just mirrored. There are normal wood boxes, this one bigger breakable wooden box, and this little stone structure that serves as a way to get a better view of the other side, but more realistically just makes you the target for the entire enemy team. But there is one more very important aspect of Crazy Jump, and that's what happens once you make that crazy jump. Reminds me of that tragedy. If a player steps out over the edge of the map, they plunge all the way down to like half a foot of water. But as everyone knows, water negates falling damage, so you're fine. And this space down here is so weird. I love it. Underneath both of the towers, there are these little stairs that lead up to a platform with a black and yellow safety guard. Stepping onto that platform teleports you back upstairs inside of the breakable box, but let's stay down here for a bit. You know, whoever did make this map kinda nailed an aesthetic down here, some 20 years before Reddit collectively decided that these exact elements should be a whole genre of visuals. And what is the purpose of this space is something of a core question in this video, because regardless of what map I explore, there's bound to be spaces that don't really make sense. On one level, it's a video game, its purpose is to serve some gameplay element, but on the other hand, there didn't really need to be a light fixture here. This black and yellow edge wasn't strictly necessary. Like I said, I've spent countless hours on this map, and when I tell you that maybe 15% of the time was spent down here, I really mean it. Usually you jump down here just to run across to the other tower and teleport up into the enemy's spawn as quickly as possible. As far as gameplay goes, this is a truly liminal space, again in the original sense of the word, which is perhaps worth touching on a little bit further. My understanding of liminal is that it refers to a state of transition. You are moving from one resting point, one destination, to another. Your start and your end are defined. Their identities are based on characteristics that are relevant beyond you. But this intermediate state does not have an immutable identity. It is defined only by your temporary passage through it. It will be gone once you are. And I'm no expert on the topic of words popularized by Redditors to describe a certain aesthetic, but when I see fiction and games based around liminal spaces, they often sort of miss the mark for me, in that I don't think that imagining ourselves within these spaces is what's so fascinating about them. I think that the fascination comes from our perception of the environment itself being in a liminal state, not currently in use for the function it was designed for. Our empathy is directed to the setting itself. We feel its sense of interruption as we almost voyeuristically spy on it in a time when it's not performing. And Crazy Jump is definitely one of my personal OG liminal spaces. After taking the plunge, it's like you've interrupted it halfway through some transformation. Is it being slowly filled up with water? Or maybe the other way around, perhaps the water used to reach the top of this wall surrounding the whole bottom area and it's now slowly draining out of it. Either way, it's hard for me to shake the feeling that I was never meant to see this place, yet here I am. You know I can't do a video like this without getting into some spooky stuff, but please note the choice of words there. Spooky, not horror. Because CS Spooks is essentially a haunted house. You might even call it a haunted mansion. It's like a Disney haunted mansion reference, I think. I've never been there, so I don't know. But according to my co-writer's girlfriend, who I guess is some kind of Disney adult, there are similarities which can't be overlooked. And I don't know her name, but I'd
trust her with my life.
So if you came to CS Spooks expecting harrowing frights, you'll probably be disappointed. There are gravestones with little puns on them, and a ghost in the library, strange orb lights, long empty corridors. If you try to enter the house through the main entrance, you fall to your death. Hilarious. Ask me how I know. Spooks was made by a mapper called Nipper, and we'll get back to Nipper soon enough, but one thing I can tell you right now about Nipper is that they have a lot of ideas, concepts. Pretty much every room here has a concept, and each one of them greets you with yet another horror trope flying at you, sometimes literally, like in the case of the floating books, and the floating candelabra, and the floating chairs, and the floating ghosts. The torture dungeon literally opens up directly onto the blood-spattered kitchen, which, for some reason, has so many books. Too many books for a kitchen. You don't need all those recipes, have some confidence. But it's not until heading outside again, this time toward the back of the house, that everything really falls into place. Like I started this section off by saying, I don't think that this map is going for horror, which makes sense, seeing how most good horror is based on a loss of agency, and Counter-Strike kinda allows you to run and shoot wherever and whenever you like. I think the fact that this thing, a literal haunted house ride, exists within the map, hitchhiking ghosts and all, confirms that that's what the map is going for. A spooky little time. It's a theme park attraction, basking in the spooky aesthetic without committing to any soul-crushing terror. And from the oppressive interior design to the maze-like layout, ever-present wood paneling, and trick-or-treating ghost, it absolutely nails this aesthetic. If I was 14 and too hardcore for this world, I might have called it lame, but today I'd settle for calling it camp. And that's not too shabby. Okay, so this is our final map of the day, and I promised we'd talk more about Nipper, who made CS Spooks, and yeah, here we are. Nipper made a lot of maps over the years. Just to name some, we have Playground, Gas Station, Wall, Paintball 1 and 2, Dead House, Park House, Doom House, High House, Live House, Nipper House, and of course 𝐄𝐌𝐀𝐈𝐋 and blah. And it's hard to explain what blah is exactly. At the risk of losing all of my pretentious street cred by referencing only the most basic of modern abstract art, I would say that blah sits comfortably somewhere between the upper dreams of LSD Dream Emulator and the grainy postpartum hallucinations of Eraserhead. It's a tangle of, I want to say rooms, but that's a bit too mundane. Rather, this map is made up of a series of capital S spaces, connected by claustrophobic hallways and vertical access shafts. And most other maps, no matter how inventive, feel like backdrops against which Counter-Strike happens. But here, it feels like Counter-Strike is the afterthought, apologetically sort of existing just to back the main event, which is blah. And blah doesn't explicitly put you in the shoes of anything, but I have to imagine that this is how it'd feel to be some hopelessly lost neuron, feverishly bouncing around inside an alien skull, making your way through some vast neural network with ambitions beyond your comprehension. Each room you enter like a different thought or pattern flicking against you, hinting at some larger goal whose logic you can sense but never decipher. Is that too pretentious? That felt good when I wrote it, now it felt very pretentious. Blah spawns you in a hallway with 10 doors, and pick whichever door you want, but don't pick this one. You can if you want to, but if you do, you'll get stuck going back and forth forever, unless you have a friend, because then you can have them stand outside the door and you can kinda bounce against them to get unstuck. Ask me how I know. Going through another door instead takes us to the Space Diner, kinda reminding me of the restaurant at the end of the universe, and we'll continue to look through the map, but I just want to stop here for a moment so that I can say two things. One, I feel like I've overused the word vibe in this video, but I mean, how else am I supposed to explain these spaces? If this was any other map, this right here would have likely been the highlight. This would be where we'd stay for the majority of this section of the video, but within Blah, this is just another space. That is to say, this map is so full of aesthetically pleasing and baffling spaces that if I stopped at each and every one of them, it'd take us hours to go through it all. So hence, I highly recommend that you try it out for yourself, or at least that you watch a dedicated video on the map from some other channel after you've finished this one. Kinda need the watch time, so don't go anywhere. And two, for those same reasons, we won't be walking through the entirety of this map. Honestly, I couldn't even properly explain to you how most of the spaces in this map go together anyway. It's so efficiently confusing, so there's almost no point in doing that, in trying to make sense of it, but I will get back to that once we've looked around a little bit. Here are some spaces that I'd like to especially highlight real quick. This Tron room, which, like many rooms in this map, gives the impression that there must be something more going on with it, that there's some environmental hazard or a secret button somewhere, but yeah, as far as I can tell, there's nothing. This cathedral, maybe, with the blue-tinted woods surrounding it. I want to go here, I want to live here, I kind of want to die here. This extremely appealing clouded corridor, which I wish that I could also visit in real life, especially on days when on days when being in a cloud-textured corridor like this could help. You know what I mean.
Jacking into the data stream, overclocking the packet feed, and bypassing the firewall through a cybernetic backdoor to reach the fucking mainframe.
I don't know what's happening in this room. I don't know what the point of this is. It's sick. This Tomb Raider-ass space where the light beams hurt you if you touch them. This one, which I'm pretty sure I visited in a dream once. And of course, whatever this guy is. One thing I grapple with when approaching absurdist art is trying to figure out how much intentionality I should assume on the part of the creator. A cigar may sometimes just be a cigar, but is a giant humanoid with a cracked egg butt ever just a giant humanoid with a cracked egg butt? Or are we carrying the Christ child through a sinful world? Are these trippy stairs, bro, or MC Escher? And then from this stair room, we go through the demonic baby face door to the brain room, naturally, which in turn connects to the art gallery. And again, here you could drive yourself nuts, or I could at least, trying to figure out the deeper symbolism of Ash being strangled by his own hand in Evil Dead, Vermeer's girl with a pearl earring still not being an identified person, what exact microchip this is and what function it serves, if the Garden of Earthly Delights is maybe where we currently find ourselves. Maybe I can't help but thinking this is all just a big critique of fine art. Maybe we go through the baby's brain to the art gallery because you'd have to have the brain of a big dumb baby to stop and stare at modern abstract art, attempting to find some sort of meaning behind it all. There is, after all, also in this map a zoo of idiots, which you can find yourself trapped in if you go through the door marked idiots only. The idiots can then be taunted and tortured if you're a non-idiot standing on the other side of the unbreakable glass. Maybe art is for idiots. Maybe there's some kind of commentary on the childlike wonder necessary to create art. Come to think of it, there is a lot of like demon baby imagery in this map. Sorry, just making sure you're still paying attention. I won't do it again. Whenever I do try to come up with some incisive, worldly, interpretive frame for creations like this, it often ends up feeling, I don't know, more flat than it did before I projected all of that stuff on it. Maybe there is some grand idea that ties it all together, and some person with much more patience and knowledge will stitch it all together into some 2-hour-long explainer video, which I will watch in full at 1.5x speed and think to myself, wow, it really was a commentary on 16th century neo-feudalism after all. But then again, maybe there isn't any grand idea whatsoever. This could all just be a major flex. Nipper showing off just how far he can push the gold source engine, and honestly, I'm completely fine with either. Because most often, absurd art like this kind of has a numbing effect on the part of my brain that otherwise viciously seeks for patterns and deeper meanings. After a while, the non sequiturs sort of exhaust the 4 gigabytes of Hewlett-Packard RAM in my head, and I slip comfortably into some more primal mode of experiencing, where I'm just feeling rather than reacting to each new impression. And while it could be my himbo ass just sort of missing the point, it's also very freeing to let that simple surface level analysis side take the wheel for a bit. It all becomes one singular, beautiful outrage. The baby demon from the good part of hell needs our help. But sitting alone in this intergalactic diner, one can't help but wonder if we really can help him. When the Colonel calls, will you not answer? We need to look into our own eyes and see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even if we need to call upon the might of the crazy tank, the baby demon must be saved. Only then may we arrive at our utopia, and only then will we be able to dance. There's something about being reminded that you exist in a world where other people perceive you, or perhaps more accurately, perceive the same things that you perceive. It can be easy, especially for the kinds of people who love to disappear into worlds of fiction, to not think of your little slice of the world as really part of the same world that everyone else lives in, where politics happen and CEOs make stupid business decisions and sports teams play and everyone else lives out their lives. So when an absolute stranger can tell you through a video game map or mod that they are seeing exactly the same kind of ketchup that you're seeing, it creates the kind of powerful, if momentary, bond that you only get when you're forced to acknowledge that other people are as real as you are, and they are seeing things and they are thinking about things at the same time that you are. And I don't know if that's the conclusion to this video. I did the script ends right there, so I guess that's my conclusion. Doesn't really account for blah. I don't know what that means for blah. I can't imagine a lot of people experiencing whatever is going on in blah, or spooks for that matter, but hopefully you enjoyed this, whatever this was. If you're new to the channel, this is sort of a pattern you'll see. I'll release a video sort of like the Cooper video that does really well, and then I always immediately follow that up with something that I know before I even start filming it that, oh boy, this one this one is not gonna do very well. So if you stuck around all the way to the end, I appreciate you. That's very cool of you. Maybe consider joining the people up on screen right now, which are my patrons. Ad revenue for this channel is usually pretty shit, and I don't take a lot of sponsors. I did take Cool Shirts for this one because I've been wanting to work with them since forever, and they've been super cool. So thank you to Cool Shirts. Oh yeah, they've been cool. It's kind of in the name, I guess. But my point is that the Patreon is what keeps this channel going. So yeah, if you want to help me stay afloat for a little while longer and make some more videos, hop on there. I was gonna release another video, more of a documentary thing that I'm super stoked about, but a couple of the interviews that I'm planning to do for that, my cat straight up just opened the door. A couple of the interviewees are being a bit slow, so we'll get to that soon enough. Hey baby, this is like a throwback. Early in this channel's life, my cat would always be in the room when I did the outro, but then I started filming at a studio, but now that I've moved to this new space, she can come in and ruin every video if she wants to. Yeah, hello baby. Okay, what's that? Okay. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.